I shouted. Whatever this is, game or not, I hate it and I want to go home. Tyler put up his hands defensively.
Whoa. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just keep going left. We'll get out. I promise.
Huffing, I cut in front of him and veered down the left path, leading the way. My shoes squelched loudly. The path narrowed again, corn clawing at my shoulders and hips. We curved left and right. And then, to my relief, the path opened up wider in front of us. We're out. The hope leaked out of me like a deflating balloon. The path did open up into a much larger area. A clearing, like the last one. But I hadn't remembered seeing the clearing, despite footprints trailing all over it. Our footprints. Crisscrossing, frantic, some clearly made by us running. The depressions in the mud deep and smudged. I turned around. No, Tyler wasn't behind me. My legs went weak underneath me. Tyler! I shouted. The path curved behind me, disappearing into the darkness. No sign of Tyler. I scanned the corn surrounding the clearing, but it was dark and shadowy and infinite, stretching in every direction. Tyler! The corn rustled, somewhere to my left. I glanced over, but I couldn't see anything. The corn was too dense. The shadows too dark. The sky was darkening now, threatening dusk. It was nearly pitch black in the shadows of the cornfield. I stared at the mess of footprints on the ground. What the hell is going on? I pulled out my phone and called Tyler. It rang several times. Then voicemail picked up. Fuck. I called him a second time, and a third. He didn't pick up. For a while I just stood there, calling his name. The sky deepened to dark blue above me. The corn rustled in the breeze, stretching in every direction. Birds soared to their nests, chirping. Then the chittering of bats overhead filled the silence. There were two paths at either end of the clearing. One curving left, one curving right. Now they were pitch black. Like looking into the deepest of forests, choking out every last bit of light. I turned on my phone's flashlight and swept it down the entrance of each, but nothing appeared to be there. Just stalks and stalks of corn, all lines and shadows overlapping each other. And then, finally, I heard something. Somewhere, down the left path, from just out of my view, I heard a soft whimpering sound. Tyler. A rough whisper.
Kate?
I approached the path, my heart pounding in my ears. I held the phone out in front of me, lighting up the path. Tyler. I whispered. And then I saw the blood. The patch of wet and dark, mingling with the mud. I swept my flashlight over the corn. The beam of light fell on a bloody hand, lying in the mud, just a few feet within the corn. I jerked the flashlight back, revealing an arm, and then Tyler's face. He was so pale. His eyes were wide. His cheeks were smeared with blood. Kate, he groaned, a horrible gurgling sound mingling with his voice. I'm coming. I'm going to get you out of there. I tried to force my way through the corn. But it was impossible. They were planted only 6 inches, maybe a foot apart. I didn't have the strength to bend or snap them. Tyler. What happened? He didn't get the chance to tell me. I watched in horror as his body began to slide backwards through the corn. As if something was dragging him. Tyler. I screamed. The sound of corn stalks snapping filled the air. I frantically shone my flashlight into the corn, sweeping it in every direction. But all I saw was more and more corn everywhere, filling up every square inch of space. I ran back through the clearing, back down one of the paths. Pulled out my phone and dialed 911. My boyfriend and I are in a corn maze, and he's hurt. I think there might be someone out there, and...
Slow down, please. You said you're at a corn maze?
Her tone sounded skeptical. Yeah.
Where?
Twilight Creek Farms. A beat of silence.
Do you know what the punishment is for calling emergency services when there is no emergency? She asked, her voice sharp.
What?
Prank calls can put you in jail for a year. Did you know that?
I stared at the corn, my throat closing. What? This isn't a prank call. My boyfriend is really hurt. I think someone.
Ma'am. She cut off. Twilight Creek Farms has been closed for 3 months now. Ever since the bodies were found.
All the air sucked out of my lungs. Bee bodies. I croaked.
We've gotten over 24 calls since then, claiming that someone's in trouble, she replied, condescendingly. But the entire farm is razed, since they lost all their money in the wrongful death suit. So, what kind of game are you trying to play?
I trailed off. 3 months. What month is it? A scoff.
January.
The phone fell from my hands. This can't be real. I must be dreaming. I wheeled around, the white of my phone's flashlight sweeping over the corn. The path curved away into darkness, deeper into the corn. I snatched my phone off the ground and walked back towards the clearing. But it wasn't there. Like the corn had swallowed it up, grown in its place in the span of minutes. What the fuck is going on here? The sound of footsteps jerked me out of my daze. Squelch. Getting louder. Coming closer. Squelch. I turned the flashlight off and began running in a random direction. I took every left turn, keeping against the left wall of corn, praying I would find an exit. I tried calling 911 again and again, but no one ever picked up. They must have flagged my number as some sort of prank call. The farm has to have some safety system in place. They let kids come here. They have to search the maze before they close up for the night. They wouldn't just let people die here. I stopped to catch my breath. My lungs burned. I couldn't run anymore. I just couldn't. I stood halfway bent over in the middle of a narrow path, the corn impossibly close, sucking in lungful after lungful of icy air.
Kate.
Tyler's voice. Incredibly quiet, barely a whisper, from somewhere in front of me. I began running blindly towards him. The path zigzagged left, then right. And then I saw him. Tyler was standing at the end of the path, facing away from me. His form illuminated in silver moonlight, the shadows of the corn crisscrossing over his back. Tyler. I whispered. I ran towards him. But halfway there, I stopped. Something is wrong. He wasn't turning around to look at me. Wasn't moving at all. Tyler. Nothing. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Hands shaking, I lifted it up. No. It was wearing his clothes. But it wasn't him. It was a scarecrow. Hay poked out of the neckline of his shirt, out of the cuffs of his jeans. His hands were just bunches of hay, girdled with twine. Stray pieces of hay scattered the ground, falling out of his hiking boots. But wait. That didn't quite make sense. Because he had hair. Undeniably his hair, wavy and black. The gears in my brain spun, trying to figure out what exactly was going on, trying to interpret this thing standing in front of me. Stuffed with hay, with his clothes, his hair. And then I realized it. The body was a scarecrow, but the head was not. I could see Tyler's pale ears, the blood dripping onto the hay of his neck. I opened my mouth to scream. The corn stalks rustled and snapped, shaking violently as something moved within them. And then it emerged. A scarecrow, moving in jerky, stilted movements, towards me, holding a long silver blade dripping with blood, missing a head. I took off down the path. My feet pounded underneath me. My lungs burned. I tried to keep right, because I'd been going left the other way. Did that even make sense? But everything blurred and smeared in my mind. All I saw was corn, endless rows of it, lit by the moonlight. Pitch black shadows underneath it. A silver moon hanging overhead. Bats twirling and tilting through the air. After what felt like hours of running, I finally accepted my fate. I'm never getting out of here. And neither is Tyler. Somehow, I evaded the scarecrow all night. Before I knew it, the sun was rising. I thought I'd finally found salvation when I heard voices on the other side of the corn. But then I realized what they were saying.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Come on, it'll be fun. It was our voices. I screamed until I was hoarse, telling them, us, to stay away. I screamed for help. I tried everything. I clawed my way through the corn, towards where I'd heard them, because clearly they were at the entrance, but all I found was more and more corn. It was futile. At one point I think I broke through for just an instant, but then I watched her shake her head and say, "Never mind. Time passes strangely here, with all our days in the cornfield overlapping each other. Rows upon rows of our footprints cross the dirt, from an eternity of running from the scarecrow. Every time I try to stop Tyler from getting taken, and every time I fail. And then there's always the night. I spend every night evading the headless scarecrow. I know my own fate. I know it was bodies, not a body, that was found at the cornfield. I know I don't make it out alive. But I evade her anyway, hiding in the corn, deluding myself that if I stay alive long enough, maybe I will get out. I'm sure it's been more than 3 months now, but the moon rises all the same, hanging silver over the corn. The stalks rustle and snap. I hide in the corn, my breathing fast and heavy, praying that one day I will find a way out. I know that day will never come.